Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday night yin yoga. If you are joining us watching the recording, well, and even if you're not, I am going to recommend props this evening. And if you don't have them, it's okay. Maybe next time. But if you do have them, pillows or a bolster or a couch cushion, anything like that, something for support. Foam rollers actually work well sometimes if you have that. Um, Blanket, maybe, to also bolster yourself and maybe cover yourself up at the end. Tonight, we are going to be getting into the hips pretty decently. And I'm fresh off a yin yoga training. And so, a couple things, interestingly enough, that I learned is that we don't necessarily want to be really warm for yin yoga. In fact, it's a really good thing to go into it cold. So when I'm cueing and I tell you to go into that first, typically I cue and say, go into that first or second point of, I can't think of the word right now. the resistance. Yay. The first or second point of resistance. I'm actually going to call it back and say that first point of resistance, that very first soft side of the edge that you feel. Okay. We don't want to go farther than that. And we're just going to hold it. We're going to hold them poses a little bit longer, maybe tonight. Okay. That said, if something feels uncomfortable, it's sort of hard. I can't see what you guys are doing, but always come out, always bolster, and I'll try and talk you through it. All right. So we're actually just going to start seated. Just going to bring my bolster back here. And whatever comfortable seat is for you. Okay, so I'm sitting pretty high up on my bolster here. If you want to sit flat on the ground, you frankly could lay down on your back if you prefer. All right, we're going to just close down our eyes and just allow ourselves to arrive in this space right here, right now, letting go of anything else that has happened up until this moment today. And just sort of settle in and notice, what that feels like to maybe like, oh, okay, I'm gonna slow down, I'm gonna stop all the things that you've maybe been doing today and just allow yourself this time to come back into our bodies, right? After rushing around a lot. And I'm going to invite you to begin to maybe just notice your breath. You don't even really have to change it or do anything. Just notice, what that feels like. Are you breathing heavily? Are you pretty chill? Are you not breathing heavily? Do you feel like you need deep breaths or not deep breaths? Whatever you feel like is fine. And maybe just notice how your body is feeling sitting here. Does something hurt? Does something feel tight, uncomfortable? Does something feel great that maybe didn't feel great yesterday? I mean, it really can change from one day to the other. And then let's begin to deepen our breath. Inhaling into our belly, up into our low ribs, and up into our chest. And then as you exhale, chest deflates, low ribs come in, and the belly empties. Inhale and exhale. This time, as you inhale, I want you to actually visualize sending your breath down. So normally I'm like, bring it up, but this time we're going to inhale and you're going to send your breath down into your pelvis, maybe down your legs or even just down into the ground beneath you. And then as you exhale, the breath draws up and out the crown of the head. So inhale, allow that breath to draw down. Exhale, pull it up out the crown of the head. And with each inhale, as you're rooting down, you're still reaching up. And as with each exhale, As you're reaching up, you're still rooting down. And I'm going to allow you guys to continue to just focus on that breathing. And one of the reasons that I'm really focusing on this to begin with is I actually learned this weekend that in yin yoga, we don't really need to focus on the breath as much as perhaps I have been doing. It just felt really natural to me. But in this 3-day training where we did lots of yin, at first I was really focusing on my breath. And then, as the days progressed, I ended up not, and really just allowing everything to soften. And so I'm going to invite you guys to do that tonight. But I wanted us to, focus on the breath here. And of course, you're still breathing always. And you can breathe in and out of a pose if it feels good, but you don't have to. I mean, you never have to. Let's take just 3 more nice, deep, and even breaths here. When you're ready, and flutter your eyes open. And whatever props you have, you're just going to put them off to the side ever so briefly. We're not going to use them for the first pose. And I am timing us. I'm going to have my bigger watch or clock here. So a lot of our poses this evening, I'm envisioning holding for about 5 minutes. I know. It's a long time. Typically, we've been holding for like 3. Okay. So let's just see where it goes. If it's too much, you always come out. Okay. And I'll say it again. I say it always, no pain. And even intensity sometimes in yin can be a little too much. I want you to feel it, but not so much that frankly, if you wanted to breathe, you could breathe through it. All right. Not so much that you're holding your breath, but sometimes when you hold the poses a little bit longer, it does begin to get a little more intense. All right. The whole goal is to allow the connective tissue to soften. Holding it longer allows that to, happen more. So anyway, we're just going to start this first pose. We're actually going to do for a minute, and it's down dog. Okay. And, we're not going to focus on our form or anything like that. We're just going to do a down dog, whatever that looks like for you. You can pedal it out. You can just hang out there. But what I'm going to invite you to do is let the head hang heavy no matter where you are. I have my knees bent, okay? And I'm letting my head hang heavy and my hips are reaching up towards the sky. That's all I'm really worried about right now, okay? And if I wanted to straighten my legs, I could, but I don't have to. And remembering that we're not going for a deep stretch. When we do that, we're getting into the muscle and we're looking to just get into the connective tissue. So it's that first edge. So even in down dog, you might feel an edge when you straighten your legs, right? So keep them soft and then maybe gently straighten if it felt better, but you certainly don't need to. We're over halfway. And then we're going to just lower our knees to the ground. All right. We're going to bring our knees out wide, our toes to touch, our hips to heels. Now, traditionally, I would call this a child's pose, but in yin, turns out they call it tadpole. Forehead to the earth. Option here. If your hips are not coming towards your heels or it's not comfortable, you can place a pillow or a bolster behind you. If that's a big bolster, but so that's a little too much for me, but it might not be for you. Okay, so if your hips are really high, bolster under there. They just need a little support. A blanket is a great thing. If your forehead is not reaching the earth, a block if you have it, or a pillow, a little couch throw pillow would be helpful. Something like that. You're going to gently walk your hands up. Maybe remove any props that you had underneath your hips. And you're sitting on your heels. All right. We're going to come off. And here's where we're going to start holding our poses a little bit longer. So props that you might want next to you are a blanket, a block, anything else. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we're going to start with what's called shoelace pose. We're going to do a few poses on the right, all on the right, and then we'll do them all on the left. Okay, so or one side or the other, whatever you want to do. I'm calling right first. I'm going to take my right knee and I'm going to cross it over my left knee. So both legs are bent here. Okay, so I'm crossing them here. Okay, so right away, you're going to come forward and kind of shimmy your hips so that you feel nice and solid. Now, if this is not okay for you, couple options. One, you just lift that knee up. This right foot is flat on the ground, and you can just hold it here. That's still not okay. You can straighten that bottom leg, okay? And you could actually drop that top knee down, or again, keep the right foot on the earth. Either one, okay? Your option. Also, you could be sitting on a blanket to lift the hips up higher, especially if your knees don't feel like they're dropping down. Lift the hips higher. All right. You're going to have the block in front here. All right. I better start timing us. This counts. All right. And you can hold your feet here if you feel like they're going to move. That apparently can happen. All right. That's not the case for me. So I'm not sure if that might be for you. So you can stay right here. Okay. Or you're going to hinge and you're going to go to that first spot of resistance that you feel, wherever you may feel it. I feel it in my outside glutes. Okay. My lateral outside glutes, maybe slightly down into the TFL IT band side of the leg. Okay. So that's my first spot. So I'm going to just stay right here. Okay, so I'm just going to lean here. I'm just going to hang out. If I wanted to prop my head, and if I was going a little bit farther, which you very well may, let's say you've come down this far, so I can actually not feel it much more in my hips when I come this far down, and I'm allowing my head to be supported, and that feels good. And just know that it's okay to like take some time to figure it out, right? Make sure that you're comfortable and make sure that things are feeling okay. No pain ever. First point of resistance. And you're just letting it soften. And we're hanging out here for a minute. Well, a few minutes. And you can maybe take a minute, a second to notice if you feel it anywhere other than in the hips, right? You might. And is there something that you can do to alleviate that or lean into it? Does it feel okay? As long as it's not painful, right? But if you need to bolster any other part of your body, why not? That said, traditionally, yin yoga was done with no props, right? Um, and it was, frankly, I think a little bit more intense. But, you know, you could imagine if you were doing it with no props, you would just be holding your head up. And so isn't it nice to just be able to relax that head? We hold them up for a lot of the day. And if things are softening, awesome. And if they're not, that's also okay. But just allow your body to do whatever it is it wants to do. So if it wants to come out a little bit, you just want to sit up here, great. If it wants to go farther in, don't take it into the deepest stretch you could go. You just take it back to that first point where that you might feel some resistance. So if that means taking a block out, moving a bolster further away from you, you could do that. Slowly walk yourself up, bring your head up, shoulders are over hips, head arrives last. That was 5 minutes, you guys. So hopefully that felt okay. All right, so this next one, you are going to also want to take some time to, you know, get into the pose. It's okay. It's part of the time. We're going to come into yin, we call it sleeping swan. In yoga, it's called, in regular yoga, I'm sorry, it's called pigeon. So bring the right leg in front. Okay. Maybe I have it parallel with my mat, but it's actually not. We're going to bring it closer in, the foot in towards our groin. And then we're going to come forward onto our hands and we're going to lengthen out that back leg, the left leg. Okay. So options here are blankets under the right hip. Like if you have a big gap under the hip and the earth, we want to just support that. Okay. And or a block under the hip is helpful too. Again, block or bolster, pillow, couch pillow, whatever you have in front of you for support is going to be really nice because we are going to come down. All right, here we go. So find what's comfortable for you. Okay. You can come all the way down and hug your pillow. Great. And I'm going to suggest the pillow. You can come all the way down to the ground if you want, but remember, first point of resistance. Block on top of the pillow if we don't want to reach all the way down to again allow that head to be supported. I have the blanket under the right hip. Feels really good. Okay, so play around with it, like maybe something you haven't done before, but you'd like to try tonight. Why not? If you don't have a block and you want to support your head, I have my thumbs at my third eye, that spot between the eyebrows, or you take the heels of your hands and cup your forehead with it. That's kind of nice. And sometimes when we're hanging out for a bit, it feels like it's getting a little bit more intense. So instead of softening, maybe you feel like, no, it's getting tighter. So just come out. Okay. Maybe it means you went in a little too far, a little too ambitious. So just come out of it and just, again, allow it to soften. The back leg, by the way, back of the foot is on the earth, like all 10 toes. Sometimes a blanket under that back knee is nice, okay? Because if you're laying on the ground, it could be a little hard. We're a little over halfway. Maybe, yeah, notice what you're feeling. Do you want to come out? Does your body want to move deeper? Or are you feeling really good right where you are? You're gonna slowly walk it up so that your hands are on the earth. So you're going to move any props. And we're just staying here for less than a minute. All right, just a little bit of a transition as we come out of this pose. You can drop that chin to your chest if that feels good. And then we're very slowly going to remove, if you have a blanket or block or bolster under that right hip, remove that and bring that left leg back in front. All right. And we'll just bring both legs in front and we'll just windshield wipe. We have one more pose on the right side, but this just feels really good. Knees back and forth. And come up through center. So this time we're coming into square. So rather than our knees being crossed, we're going to stack ankle to knee. So right ankle is going to come over my left knee. All right. It's hanging off. And then my left leg is parallel, with the mat edge. Okay. So again, if you're like, no, not happening. Like, look, I have kind of a big gap here because I've got my ankle hanging off, which is what we want. So options, block. All right. It feels okay, but I could make that feel a little better. So I'm going to maybe do a blanket instead. All right. You could be sitting on that blanket. You could be sitting on a bolster. Okay. Let me just show you that in case that feels like a good way for you to do it. Okay. So this knee comes way farther down when I'm sitting up high. All right. It's a little beyond my first point of resistance, I'll say. So I'm going to put that blanket there. Oh yeah, that feels much better. But remember, this ankle is hanging off. All right. If this is still not a good option for you, same thing as before. Straighten your bottom leg. That top leg comes over. You can bolster, block, or just hold it here. Okay. We've already started timing. So find that, and it's okay to adjust. Just a reminder, always okay to adjust mid pose if it's no longer working for you, right? Switch it up. Do not suffer. There's no need. You spend way too much time doing that as it is. And tuck the chin to the chest here. If none of this is, you're not feeling any of this, okay, you're going to come forward a little bit more, walk forward, and maybe drop the head onto the block. You can be up on this bolster or not, like if you're on the ground anyway, but I'm already feeling it in my hips, so I'm going to hang out here. And if you're sitting, well, even really no matter where you are, I'm just sort of allowing my breath to softly flow up and down my spine, not spending a ton of energy focusing on it, but it's there and I'm kind of feeling it in the background. So my hip has softened significantly. Maybe yours has as well. So now I'm feeling like I can lean forward a little bit more, not feel it much more. And so I've got my blocks stacked here so that I can rest my head. If you have leaned forward, slowly come on up. Head arrives last. Move those props out of the way. We'll do one more windshield wipe here, and then we will switch. So just lean back on your hands and drop the knees. Ooh, I feel that, huh? Side to side. And then we'll do it all over on the left side. And the left side, the other side might feel completely different. Might be much easier, much harder. You might need more or less support. Okay. So this time, left knee crosses over right. You can come forward, kind of adjust your hips so you feel like you're really rooting down into those sit bones. Knees are ideally stacked, all right, but if they're not, it's fine. Feet are out, flexed. And remember, couple options, you can just take that left foot and have it flat on the ground so the knee is a little bit higher, or you can straighten the bottom leg and you can either, oh no, actually, we're just gonna leave it there. Okay? Those are your options. And then, of course, bolstering, pillowing, whatever we may need, blocks in front of us so that we can drop our head down if we're going that way. All right, so you can sit just right here, tuck your chin to your chest slightly if you like, or if you feel like you want to come forward any amount to that first point of resistance. And even though I said we're focusing on the hips, where else might you be feeling it? Is it in the low back? Is it in the shoulders as you come forward? Give yourself whatever you need to support those areas. And that could mean blankets or it could mean coming out. So remembering that you're allowing your body to do the softening for you. Okay, so you're just hanging out, letting your body do what it needs to do. And if it feels like it wants to go in more, let it do that. And if it wants to come out, help it do that. And if you want to stay exactly where you are, you're in a good place. And slowly walk yourself up if you were lowered down. We're going to come into sleeping swan or pigeon. So I'll start our timing now, but find that position. You're going to bring the right leg behind you. Left leg is in front. I'm bringing my foot closer to my left or to my right thigh. Come forward on the hands and then allow the hips to come back. So a blanket or a block if I wanted. Again, one side, you might not need anything on this side, or you might need a whole lot more, okay? Either one. And then you want your pillow or your bolster to support your torso. and maybe a block to support your head. So take some time to make sure you're nice and comfy. First point of resistance, that soft edge. You can really pull this pillow or whatever you have into your belly to support your whole belly. And allow your forehead to come on to the block. You can turn one cheek to the side if that feels good. I'm just going to turn direction so people watching can potentially see what this looks like from the other direction. Do you feel like you're breathing too heavily to allow yourself to be in this pose? Come on out a little bit. It's okay. And what that means is maybe more propping. Higher. And remember, you can rest your head on your thumbs or heels of your hands on the forehead. That one's my favorite. Slowly walk it up, and we're just going to hold it up here. So you're on your hands. You can tuck your chin slightly, just as a way to transition out of the pose that we've been holding for a long time. And then we'll just move any props perhaps we have. Come over, lean over onto the left hip and pull the right hip gently around. Come back to facing. And let's do a quick windshield wipe since we're here. Nice and slow. And then we'll come into our last hip posture here, square pose. So bottom, or right leg is on the bottom, left leg comes on the top. So left ankle is off the right knee. So traditionally we might keep the foot here, but we'll actually hurt the ankle that way. So again, remember the gap here under the knee. Let's not make that work too hard to hold up. And I'm just gonna not fold my blanket very nicely, okay? And find some support there, and that feels really good. Again, you can sit up on something, maybe not quite this big, or maybe something bigger. All right, so coming up onto the bolster. Hello. A little awkward getting on there at first, but then it allows that top knee to really drop down a little bit more, okay? Oops, kind of slid off there. Take that time, figure out what works for you and what's working today, right? Because what worked yesterday or what works tomorrow might not be the same as today. In fact, inevitably, it's not. And then if you're like, I feel nothing, I need more to get to that first point of resistance, you can stack some blocks or anything else that you might have. You can lean forward and you can drop the head, allowing the head to be supported. You can stack things even higher, okay? If that's a little rough, something soft on top of it. This is our final pose before we go into our yoga nidra for the evening. And we have held these poses for 5 minutes each, and that's a long time. So if you're sore tomorrow, that would not be abnormal. Epsom salt baths are nice. Heat is nice afterwards. And also, like, sometimes it can stir up some emotions. Our hips hold a lot of that. So notice, you know, if anything's coming up for you, it might be happening right now. I have gone home from hip classes and cried from the emotional release, not the pain, because there's no pain, right? And maybe there's nothing, and that's great too. You know, it's not like there has to be something there, but sometimes there is. So just recognize that, you know, if something's happening, if you're feeling a little off sorts tomorrow, recognize that and know that it's okay. Notice if you need more or less, or stay the same. All of the above are perfect. It may be getting uncomfortable. If it is, reassess, readjust, add more, take out. Slowly walk yourself up so that your shoulders are over your hips, your head is up. We're going to remove our blocks or props, etc. And we're going to come to, well, very gently. Let's release first. Maybe do some windshield wiping, a couple of those. And we're going to come onto our backs and we're just going to do a little spinal twist to sort of allow our body to assimilate this before we lay in our yoga nidra. And I do recognize that we might be going a little over this evening. Normally this is an hour class. We're already at about 55 minutes. So just know that you're welcome to stay or not, obviously. All right, so let's come all the way down onto our backs. Untie the knot of your top in the back so it's not digging into the earth. This is where you notice that you have a hair clip that you don't need or want. You can take that out. All right, let's just windshield wipe the knees back and forth. We're going to do a super gentle twist here, okay? Just back and forth. And then once you've done that as many times as you would like, just drop the knees over to the right. And I'm not going to even enhance this. Unless the only enhancement I would say is you can turn your head over to the left if you would like. All right. So we're twisting in the hips and we're slightly twisting in the neck. It's very gentle here, right? Just to reset. Inhale through center. Drop the knees over to the left. Gaze stays neutral, or, excuse me, you can turn your head, neck, gaze over to the right. Inhale the knees up through center. Release one leg long on the ground. And then the other. Bring the arms long at your side, palms face up. Take this opportunity to perhaps have a pillow for your head, a blanket for your body, socks for your feet. And I'm going to actually end this evening in the interest of time. As that was more than I thought. Didn't time it quite well. We're going to do more of just a brief body scan shavasana versus a whole nidra session this evening. I have been finding that the body scan is almost my favorite part, to be honest. But find yourself comfortable doing anything you need to feel comfortable, removing any lumps or bumps. And feel your whole body dropping down into the earth. Allow the jaw to relax by removing the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Let your head and shoulders, hips, thighs, feet, all drop down into the earth, knowing that you are completely and totally supported right here, right now. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, releasing anything that has happened up until this practice this evening. Letting go of any thoughts, any need to do, just being. This has been your time to simply enjoy some peace. Bring your awareness to the point between your eyebrows. The point between your eyebrows. To the hollow of the throat. To the right shoulder joint. Floating your awareness to the right elbow joint. The wrist joint. The right thumb. Tip of the index finger. Tip of the middle finger. Tip of the ring finger. Tip of the little finger. Effortless awareness to the right wrist joint, the right elbow joint, the right shoulder joint, the hollow of the throat. Shifting awareness over to the left shoulder joint, left elbow joint, left wrist joint, the left thumb, tip of the left index finger, tip of the middle finger, tip of the ring finger, tip of the little finger. Shifting freely to the left wrist joint, left elbow joint, left shoulder joint, hollow of the throat. To the heart center, the right side of the chest, the heart center, the left side of the chest, the heart center, the heart center, the heart center. Resting awareness at the heart center, not thinking, just feeling. I'm going to invite you to stay here for as long as you can, allowing the Shavasana pose to absorb all the work you did for your hips this evening. Take care.